What if your ADHD brain isn't a problem to manage, but a system to understand? In this eye-opening conversation with Jamie Smart, we dive into how to truly thrive by knowing your strengths, what addiction is really pointing us towards, and a new understanding of mental health that has the potential to transform not just individuals, but the world. Jamie, for my listeners who might not know your work, could you describe what it is that you do and how you help people, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure. You know how these days most people have a lot on their minds, just lots that they're thinking about. We teach a simple understanding that takes things off people's minds automatically. So you have the time, space, and mental freedom to enjoy your life and do whatever matters to you.
That sounds amazing.
Were you hoping for something longer?
Well, you can expand if you want to, but no, that's okay. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that's it. That's basically my starting point, Juliet, is that every single human being has a source of clarity, resilience, realization, well-being, confidence, peace of mind right there within them. And that's regardless of any diagnoses they may have or any challenges they may have been through, regardless of what their history is or anything like that. Within each one of us is a source of clarity, peace of mind, resilience, and well-being. And when I work with clients, I don't even ask them to take my word for it. I say, we're gonna create the space where you can discover that for yourself. So don't take my word for it. I'm suggesting to you that's there to be seen. It's there for you to see. And regardless of what you may have learned historically, this is something you were born with. And so my job, if you like, is to help people wake up to the source of clarity, resilience, and well-being that they have within them so they can do what they're here to do.
So what do you think it is that most people misunderstand about their minds?
Well, I think, first of all, it's the most natural thing in the world that we get fooled into believing we live in what I'm going to call an outside-in world. So it genuinely seems to us a lot of the time like our felt experience, our feelings are coming from stuff outside of us, whether it's what someone said to us or what happened to us last week or our job prospects or this talk I've got coming up or the weather or the holiday I'm going on. Oh, I feel so excited because I'm going on holiday, or our bank accounts or our partners or our whatever it might be. It genuinely seems to us like our experience comes from outside of us. And that's really natural. The way that our perceptual systems work kind of make it seem like that. Now, let me give you an example. In medieval times, people thought that the sun went around the earth. And if you asked anyone, why do you think the sun goes around the earth? They would go, well, look up in the sky. There it goes. You know, it looks like it does. And the evidence of their senses said, well, that's how it works. When all the time the earth was going around the sun, there was a way that it actually worked, and then there was the way that it appeared that it worked. Well, my assertion to your listeners is that there's a way that it appears that it works, like the things that we most value. And by the things we most value, I mean qualities like love, like peace of mind, like well-being, like confidence, like motivation, like creativity, like presence. It can genuinely seem like they come from outside of us. That's how it appears. But my assertion is that just like it appears that the sun goes around the earth, but actually the earth goes around the sun, it appears that those experiences come from outside of us when actually they're generated from within 100% of the time, no exceptions. So I would say that the reason The reason many of us misunderstand that much of the time is because it really looks like it comes from outside. And then we live in a semantic environment of media and friends and families and religions and all that sort of stuff that reinforce that. They go, yeah, that really is how it works. By the way, buy this watch and you will feel authentic. And, get this job and you will be successful. And, get this partner and you will be attractive, or whatever it might be. Or, wear these trousers and you will be attractive. We live in a semantic environment, and if you think about it, some of the most valuable companies in the world earn billions of dollars convincing people of that stuff through advertisements and marketing and all that sort of stuff. So it's no surprise that we've been, you could say, hypnotized into believing that our uh, feelings of well-being and peace of mind and uh, happiness and joy are contingent on external factors.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. I just wanted to kind of bring in, as you know, I have ADHD, and so do most of my listeners. I imagine if they're listening to my Gifted with ADHD podcast. You have described yourself as having an ADHD type brain. I've heard you say a few times. How has this understanding helped you with that?
Well, I've certainly been diagnosed with ADHD, but how I see what's described as ADHD is actually, it's a processing style. It's a way of using, it's a way of the mind or the brain operates that may be different from how many people in society use their minds, but it's an, as you say in the title of your show, it's a gift, right? So uh, I don't really see it as a problem to be solved. It's a it's a way of processing to be aligned with, to be harnessed, to be used in accordance with in our life. Now, what this means is there are lots of activities that I know I'm not really cut out for. I don't spend days and days poring over spreadsheets, for instance. That's not really my cup of tea. My cup of tea is having conversations with people and speaking to groups and that sort of thing. I love doing that sort of thing. And so for me, doing the work that really is aligned with my gifts and talents has is very incredibly fulfilling to me. So how has this understanding helped with that? Well, a couple of ways. One of the ways that's been very useful is I know that if I'm feeling bothered, frustrated, uh, anxious, under pressure, that sort of thing, those feelings are giving me feedback on how I'm relating to the world, how I'm there. It used to seem to me that like that was giving me feedback about the world. It's like, oh God, this huge questionnaire with 1,500 questions, and I feel so stressed. I can't handle it. I can't do it. It's like, oh no, those feelings are letting me know about my own perceptual system. They're not letting me know about the questionnaire or the process or whatever. They're letting me know about my own perceptual system. Turns out that's really, really useful. It's really, really useful in two ways. The first way that it's really, really useful is it gives you very, very real time feedback about something that lets you know that something can be changed. So, for instance, your whole nervous system is full of feedback mechanisms. If you accidentally touch a hot stove, that feeling lets you know to pull your hand away. So for me, when I didn't understand this stuff, that feeling of I can't do it, let me know to postpone doing the questionnaire till tomorrow, right? Once I understood it, I was like, oh, that's letting me know about how I'm thinking about it. Put it down for a second, take a breath. What's the next step? It's giving me a more practical way of engaging with life. So that's the first way in which this understanding was profoundly useful. And The second way, which is kind of a deeper way, but sort of even more powerful, feelings of frustration, anxiety, worry, bother related to, everyday tasks and that sort of thing, which I know are some of the things that people who are diagnosed with ADHD often struggle with. It can genuinely make it seem like you're at the mercy of a world out there with power over how you feel. And once you realize that your feelings are letting you know about your own internal processes and not about the world, you realize that you're not a victim. You're not a victim. It's just a simple built-in system letting you know something about how you're processing. And I found that to be incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
In terms of benefits, the result of learning this understanding for me has been deeper connections with the people I care about, being more present and in the moment more of the time, and doing work that I love. It's kind of funny. It's funny, Juliet. I had an experience many years ago where uh, this was even before I'd been diagnosed with ADHD. I was filling out kind of a personality test, the Colby inventory created by Kathy Colby, and it said to me, the part of my processing style was I was very high on quick start, which is one of their categories. So this is about motivation styles. She said, this being the case, if you're doing a talk, for instance, instead of rehearsing the whole thing and that sort of thing, just write out a few bullet points and do it like that. You'll be great. Well, here's the funny thing. I'd been on public speaking courses and they'd all said to me, yeah, write it all out and practice it 5 times and that sort of thing. And if I tried to do that, it killed all the vibe of the talk. So I would just write 6 bullet points and then shoot from the hip. But it was kind of a guilty secret. I thought, oh, I'm not doing it properly. I should be doing it the way everyone else is doing it. But it turns out, no, you have a way of operating, a way of processing, a way of working that's perfect for you. And all you need to do is find the ways of operating in this world that align with how you already are. And you get to unlock the gift of ADHD rather than being at the mercy of it. So it to me, the kind of the meta gift of all of this is when you understand how you tick and how you can be at your best, you can organize things accordingly so that your world and the way you work is aligned with how you're able to give your deepest gifts.
Hello, I am just going to pop in here and let you know about my group coaching program, which is called The Academy. The Academy is an inspiring and supportive space where I coach like-minded ADHDers. We explore everything about living with ADHD, and you will receive personal coaching and support directly from me. I've been through the challenges of ADHD myself, and I love sharing the lessons that I've learned to help make your life easier. So I'd love for you to come and join our amazing ADHD community and learn and grow together. There's a link down below to join, and I hope to see you soon. Yeah, I love that, Jamie. I think that's kind of been my journey, that I felt once I knew what my strengths were, I know that that's really powerful, and how, working with my gifts, as my podcast called Gifted, as you said. And I feel like, well, from what I see with my clients that have ADHD, that they are unique and they do possess these gifts, but they don't always see it. They can cover it up with thoughts about themselves, that they're not good enough, that they're not fitting into some mold of what they think they should be, should. What do you see about that? Like, about how people feel like they have a lot of thoughts about like they have a lot of thoughts and how and what it means about them, maybe their sense of identity. Have you got anything you could speak to about that?
Maybe, I don't know. I'll see if I can find my way into it. I mean, the I've I've heard that for people with various kinds of, well, I can kind of relate to this in a very personal way, actually. So for many years, my job was as a project manager. So I was running large IT projects for companies, and they involved a certain amount of organizational change and that sort of thing. And I had kind of a knack for it. I was quite good at it, but I had what's sometimes called imposter syndrome, because I actually found the way of thinking that was required for this very easy. It was like I had this sort of sense anyone could do this, right? But I was getting well paid for it and that sort of thing. And I had this sense of that I yeah, I sometimes called imposter syndrome, that like if anyone found out that I really didn't know what I was doing and that sort of thing, it would be terrible, that sort of thing, right? And so I was trying to come across like I knew what I was doing. And then what I realized was that without even knowing it, I'd been kind of schooled to create a role, a perception, a way of coming across. And then once I had kind of created that role, I had to kind of live up to it. And at a certain point, I realized, oh, no, you're already enough. You're already enough. You don't have to pretend to be more than you are. If you don't know something, you can say, I don't know. Uh, if you don't know how to do something, you can say, I don't know how to do that, but I'll go and find out. And there was just this incredible freedom. And Juliet, there's a way in which my own journey, really over the last 30 years, has been and continues to be one of dropping bits of that role as I find them. The and really embodying the as best I can the message that you're enough as you are. It's a natural part of the human experience for us to adjust ourselves to the societal role and do what's normal, to conform, as it's called. And then it's really natural to kind of go, okay, I actually want something different. So for me, my journey with that was the whole time I was doing project management, I was also drinking. That was how I managed the fact that I was doing something that wasn't actually a good fit for me. Then I got into recovery from alcoholism. Within a very short period of time, I couldn't do that work anymore because the thing that was calling me, which was about helping people wake up to who they really are and doing this kind of work, that got louder. Like I couldn't ignore it anymore. So that's not an atypical journey. A lot of the people I meet who are, you know, leaving their jobs to do work that's more heart centered or that's more aligned with who they really are and that sort of thing, they're following that same kind of path.
When you just mentioned about your relationship with alcohol, because I know that a lot of my ADHD listeners struggle with addictive patterns of behavior.
Mm.
And I wondered then, like, maybe how you could talk to those people about maybe some freedom around that, and how what your journey's been maybe as well, and how how you saw alcohol, how that role played into your life and how you see it now.
Yeah, well, I'll say a little bit about that for starters, because uh, my sense is, it's interesting, uh, Juliet. The word addiction, if I remember correctly, the root of that word in Latin is from the word surrender. Okay, so it's about uh, the whole nature, if you like, of addiction is that a person is trying to control something that they can't control, right? So they surrender to it, right? So the person who's, you know, lost in alcohol, it's not that they're just not good enough at controlling something. It's that they're surrendering to something that they can't control. Well, if we go from that root word of surrender, and this is going to sound like a bridge too far for a number of your audience, I imagine, but I'm going to suggest that, there's I was once getting coached by a therapist called Mandy Evans, and she said, uh, you can never get enough of second best because it's so unsatisfying. And her observation was that every addiction, whether it be to alcohol or to heroin or to chocolate or to gambling or to pornography or to shopping or whatever, because my experience of human beings is they can get addicted to pretty much anything. And funnily enough, actually, I once heard it said that the most addictive substance on the planet is human emotions. So you'll find people who are addicted to specific emotional states, whether that's states of depression or anxiety or stress or fear or misery or a certain self-image that they have a bad feeling about. So it's really worth knowing that. But anyway, she said, yeah, you can never get enough of the second best because it's so unsatisfying. And my assertion is that every addiction is an attempt to it's a substandard attempt to get something that the person really wants. And my assertion to your listeners is that the thing that every person with an addiction is looking for is to wake up to the truth and beauty of who they really are. You know, the very nature of addiction is that it has people feeling separate from the other people in their lives, because addiction often has people telling lies, which immediately block them from the other people in their lives, has them feeling separate from other people, the people they care about, has them feeling separate from the richness and fullness and beauty of life, and has them feeling separate from who they really are and their true identity. And my assertion is that what every person who's addicted is actually looking for is to be reconnected with who they really are, with the truth and beauty of their being. And the way that we experience that is typically through a feeling. It's a feeling of well-being. It's a feeling of peace. It's a feeling of connection. And in very, very simple terms, every person who's addicted is really looking for that. And so the addictive behavior or the addictive substance is an attempt to uh, to get that, and it doesn't quite cut it, and so they have another go. And often the first time a person engages in the addictive behavior, it really works, right? And then the rest of the times are chasing that first time. So that's how I see it, is that addiction is actually a search for, uh, you know, freedom from the constraints of the separate self, the thing that has us believing that we're separate from and at the mercy of a world out there with power over how we feel.
I'm just wondering if some of my listeners might be saying, I could be wrong here, but that sounds amazing. How do I get that? How do I connect with the truth and beauty of who I really am? And how do I even know who I really am? Like, where?
Well, I've got good news and bad news. Yeah. So first of all, the good news. You're already connected. Like, who you really are is already there. It's what the Buddhists call the face you were born with. The Sufis describe it as being closer to you than your jugular. So you're never actually separate from life, from other people, from the truth and beauty of who you really are. You're just under the illusion that you're separate. And me too. Like, it's part of being alive, right? Like, I'm, I'm driving down the road and someone pulls out in front of me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Beep, beep. That I feel very separate in that moment, right? So that's the illusion of separation. But the illusion of separation is created using the power of thought. Our this incredible power that we have running through us in every moment is creating our experience of reality. Now, this is counterintuitive, Juliet. Like, what I'm saying is that even as you look around the room that you're in, everything you're experiencing is being generated from within your neurological, psychological, and spiritual properties. So it's being created. It's what the neuroscientist Anil Seth refers to as a controlled hallucination. So we each walk around in a controlled hallucination, but it seems to us like we're looking out through little windows in our head at the world out there, right? Again, it appears like that, but what's actually going on is we're generating a projection, a 3D holographic projection. This is settled neuroscience. Like, this was discovered 160 years ago by Hermann Helmholtz, the kind of grandfather of neurology, where we are walking around in a 3D hallucination and experiencing it as though we're looking out through windows in our head. Okay. So our entire experience of reality is being generated from within, moment to moment to moment, in real time, using what I'm calling the power of thought. So all our feelings are giving us feedback about that creative process. So we're living in the experience of that creative process, creating a perceptual reality moment to moment to moment. And one of the things that allows us to do is to create a perceptual reality that has us feeling separate, right? So the one thing, here's what makes sense to me in answer to your question. Your question is, your listeners are going, this sounds amazing, I think, or this guy's a total hippie. But if it's legit, then that's amazing. How do I do this? Say step one, 3-step process. Step one, decide whether it seems like I might be onto something. If like what we're talking about here seems to have some validity to it. If the answer is no, then no further steps required. But if the answer is yes, step two is decide whether life would be sweeter if you were less bothered or frightened or concerned by your uncomfortable feelings when they came, and more confident and certain about the source of well-being and peace and love and joy and happiness that you have and resilience that you have within you. Would life be sweeter if you knew that? That's step two. If the answer to that is no, then again, no further steps required. But if the answer to that is yes, then step three is make it a priority to learn this. So I first started waking up to this in early 2009. And I saw it. There's something here. There's something here. And because we've grown up in a perceptual reality, in a semantic environment that doesn't know this stuff that Juliet and I are talking about, it takes a little. If you want to see this for yourself, it makes sense to make it a priority, because there's a way in which the rest of the world is telling you it works the other way around. And I'm saying, to be clear, you're living in the feeling of the principle of thought, creating a perceptual reality 100% of the time, no exceptions. I'll give you an example of this. So, you know how little kids like to have a teddy bear or a security blanket, something like that, what psychologists call a transitional object. So they'll have something that they hold when they go to bed at night or when they're feeling insecure, and it calms them. It's a self-soothing mechanism, you could say. And it genuinely feels to the child, like if you were to ask the child, it genuinely seems to them like their experience of peace, of comfort, of well-being is coming from the bear or the security blanket or the rabbit, whatever it is, right? But as adults, we know that 100% of that feeling is coming from within the child. None of it's coming from the bear or the blanket. They don't have any special mechanisms within them. 100% of it is coming from within the child. But it appears like it's coming from the bear or the blanket. Just like it appears that the sun's going around the earth, right? It appears one way, but in actuality, it works the other way 100% of the time. 0% is coming from the bear, 100% is coming from the child. Well, my invitation to you is that that's the same for everything else in your life. But as adults, we think, well, it's different. This is this is my job I'm talking about. This is my partner I'm talking about. This is my beer belly I'm talking about. It's like, no, 100% of the time your experience is coming from within. 0% of it's coming from anywhere else. Now, I'm not saying you create your own reality. Like if someone runs into my office and punches me in the face, I didn't create that. That's, someone who's taking issue with what I said and they punch me in the face. But my experience of it comes from within. Okay. So once again, I'm saying we live in a semantic environment where we're told it works the opposite. That how it works is how it appears. And I'm saying how it appears is the opposite of how it works. And so if there seems like there's merit to that, and if there seems like life would be better if you knew this, then make it a priority to learn it, whether it's through binge listening to all Juliet's podcasts or reading books or doing courses, like whatever hiring a coach, whatever makes sense to you. It's worth, if you see merit in this, it's worth baselining it and making it a priority.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree because I've been on that journey as well. And yeah, this completely transformed my life, this understanding. And so where would you suggest people look, maybe, like you just said, in terms of, would you suggest they go to something like looking at something like the three principles? I know that's something that you came across, and Sid Banks. Would you, or what would you say about where people could actually really dive in deep to some background in what we're talking about here today?
So a couple of things. I've written a couple of books that people like as starting points. My book Clarity, I released the second edition of it a couple of years ago. So that's a good starting point. I thoroughly recommend the audios and videos of Sydney Banks. There are plenty of those on YouTube. Sid was the guy who first articulated the principles that we're talking about. Now, the thing about Sid's work is he talks about it in a very abstract way. So if you're going to listen to Sid, it was recommended to me that you listen to it like you're listening to music or like you're listening to poetry. So not to try and fit it into because this is going to be a useful part of the how, actually. The most learning, if you think about how we were taught at school and that sort of thing, is what I call outside in learning, which is where people present you with concepts and beliefs and ideas, and you kind of wedge them into your cognitive model and see do they make sense and that sort of thing. But a question I've asked literally thousands and thousands of people, I've asked everyone from generals in NATO to prison inmates in California to business leaders to school teachers to students to private individuals. Question I ask is, when do you get your best ideas? When do you get your best ideas? And the answers are always the same. The answers are like when I'm in the shower, when I'm out for a walk, when I'm relaxing in nature, when I'm just about to drift off to sleep, when I first wake up in the morning, when I'm in the bath, when I'm exercising, when I'm driving to and from work. People get their best ideas when they're not thinking about stuff because they're benefiting from an innate capacity for insight, which every single one of us has, an innate capacity for realizations that bring our perceptions more closely into alignment with reality. Now, the job of all my work and of what Sydney Banks is doing is to create the conditions for you to have realizations from within that bring your perceptions more closely into alignment with reality. So whether you're listening to me or whether you're listening to Sid Banks or whether you're listening to one of the other teachers teaching this stuff, whether you're listening to Juliet's podcast recordings, I'm going to suggest that the thing that's going to do something for you is going to be the realization that you have from within. And here's the thing, you have this capacity for realization within you, because if you didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to walk or talk or understand language or, eat your dinner or anything. Your innate capacity for realization is the thing that allows you to navigate this world. So you have it. And your best ideas and the insights and realizations that are going to make a profound and meaningful difference in your life are going to be the ones that come from within, not the ideas or concepts that Juliet or I share with you. So when you're listening to this stuff, I encourage you to relax. Don't listen to it on triple speed, because you're less likely to get what you're going to get. You want to, as best you can, you want to listen with nothing on your mind. Now, for those of us who have been gifted with ADHD, even the idea of listening with nothing on your mind may sound like a big ask. I know when I was first exploring this, I I did all kinds of things to try and make it easier for me to listen to this stuff. So I'd listen to recordings while playing classical music at the same time and stuff like that, just to kind of try and settle my mind down so I could hear something new. But that's my suggestion. Like, you'll know what your best way of and most relaxed way of taking in information is. For some people, it'll be reading. For some people, it'll be watching a video. For some people, it'll be listening to a podcast or listening to an audio. For some people, it'll go experience a live event or get one-to-one coaching. Just start exploring. Again, decide whether there's something here. If there is, decide whether life would be sweeter if you knew this. If the answer is yes, then make it a priority. So decide for yourself what's going to be a good way of doing this. Like, the fact that you're listening to a podcast suggests that maybe audio is a good way. So my books are all available in audiobooks. Sid Banks is recording their countless hours of his work available on audio. Strongly recommend you just spend some time with this understanding. And what I often say to people is, give it 30 minutes a day for a month and then see how your life is. So that's what occurs to me, Juliet.
Yeah. And when you were just talking about the innate capacity we have for the insight, I feel like this thing, it is that we're looking, for external kind of things to fix things. And something that really resonated with me was when we think about our body. If we cut our finger, we kind of know that our body's going to heal, that we've got that innate capacity to heal. We don't have to think about that, do we? About how is that cut going to heal? I've got to do something to it. I mean, we might put a plaster on it to keep it clean, I suppose. But so I was just wondering, like, so I just think that this concept about that we have this innate capacity within us for, like, psychologically, not just to heal a cut. Like, how could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's kind of interesting, actually. I've got a book somewhere. I don't have it right here, but it's a book about PTSD, and it was written by a scientist called Marilyn Bowman, who did a meta-analysis of all the research that had been done on post-traumatic stress disorder. And what she found was that, because in our culture, there's this idea that experiencing some kind of toxic event, like being in a plane crash, or uh, having a bad childhood, or all the different things that happen that sometimes people experience trauma from. There's this idea in our culture that if people experience toxic events, they will have a trauma response, right? And her research showed that actually something like 90% plus of the time that was not the case. That actually, while if there's a toxic event, a percentage of people are likely to experience ongoing trauma experiences. The vast majority of people overcome it like they recover from it within a relatively short period of time, or even see it as being a positive thing. I'll sometimes ask the question, what's something that you've experienced that you wouldn't wish to go through again, but that's made a significant positive impact in your life? Everyone's got examples of this. So it, the my assertion is that the same kind of quality that we see at play in the human immune system also is resident in our psychology. We've all got a psychological expression of the immune system that will allow us to recover from uh, psychological and emotional issues as readily as we do from physical ones. It's another thing that's there for everybody.
Yeah. What do you think it is? I mean, why do you think it is that it's not more widely known? Because it is a new paradigm, and it really just, like you said, there's about 80, I don't remember what you said exactly, about 80,000 different um psychology kind of concepts or kind of ways to explore that. But this is something underlying everything, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
or even over it.
there are a couple of reasons it isn't more widely known. The first one is the same reason that the fact that the Earth goes around the sun wasn't more widely known for a long time. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it works the other way around. Like it seems counterintuitive when people first come across this. And even when I kind of lay out a logical case for it, people are still like, yeah, but hey, because it seems like it couldn't be that simple. It couldn't be that simple. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the because the learning model for this is realization based. It's not conceptual. It's realization based. The only way that someone can see something valuable in this is to have their own realizations about it. So that relies on someone to be kind of motivated to give this some attention in order to see something new. In our society, the digital revolution is driving people crazy. You've got young people who are addicted to their smartphones. You've got higher and higher levels of anxiety and depression and that sort of thing in society. It looks to me like the digital revolution is creating the conditions where we need a new paradigm for psychology. So I think maybe the need is there now in a way that it wasn't to the same degree even 30 years ago or something like that. So this is a more, I don't know if it's going to play out, but I'm committed to doing whatever I can to help humanity upgrade its inner operating system, basically. Like that's what I'm up to these days. It looks to me like Juliet, like we live at a time, with everything that's going on with artificial intelligence and digitization and robotics, we're at this incredible inflection point in history where ahead there genuinely is the possibility of a much better life for everyone. But the journey between here and there is like crossing an Indiana Jones rope bridge. And on one side of it is catastrophe, whether it's climate crisis or bio weapons or nuclear war or enslavement by robot overlords or whatever it might be. And on the other side is dystopia with, authoritarianism and that sort of thing. And it's down to all of us to make our way to the other side of it. And I think our best bet for doing that is a deeper understanding of the mind that allows us access to the wisdom for decision making and the source of well-being and meaning and purpose that's there in every single human being. So I think that's how we get to the other side of this rope bridge.
Wow. That's so, I feel like that is such a almost perfectly profound moment to maybe bring this to a close, because I don't think I always feel like, yeah, going from there isn't really, yeah, it just feels like a good place to finish. That's such a profound message, Jamie. Thank you. I felt quite moved by that. I think if anyone's listening to this, hopefully they will too, because that, yeah, it's needed, isn't it? It's absolutely needed, a new paradigm in psychology. And I think you're right. I think that it's going to be it's going to be coming to that point that it's going to happen, like the germ theory. So thank you so much for coming on today. Can I just ask you, how do people find you? How do you help people at the moment? What are you up to at the moment that you could share with them?
Easiest place to find me is jamiesmart.com. My website there. I've also got podcasts, the Get Clarity podcast and the Thriving Coaches podcast. And my books are on Amazon. My main books are Clarity, Results, the Little Book of Clarity, and the Little Book of Results. My main way of working with people at the moment are two main ways. So my primary focus is on helping leaders upgrade their inner operating system so that we can navigate what is the most pivotal point in history. Like this, it seems to me that one of the biggest challenges that leaders in all walks of life, whether that's people leading companies or countries or communities or families, we need to upgrade our inner operating system so that we can navigate the time that we're in. So that's my main focus. The work I do with leaders is either public speaking and the keynotes and that sort of thing, or the intensives I mentioned, and work in companies with teams. And then the other thing we do is there's a number of coaches and change workers and therapists who resonate with this message and want to learn to do this work for themselves. So I also have some programs that support people who want to do that.
Yeah, and I would advocate for that. As you know, I'm part of one of your programs, or been in several, and and the book. Just, you mentioned your book, Clarity. I actually brought it, and I haven't actually got it on the table in front of me. But
I'm just looking around to see if I've got a copy somewhere. I don't in front of me, funnily enough.
Yeah, but that book did. Reading that book did change my life, I would say. So I highly recommend the book to anyone that's is wondering about that. It is so many important messages in there, and which I would just recommend it. So,
and the other thing I'd say about the book is, for listeners of this podcast, if you prefer audio, it's also on Audible. And I know for me, there are some kinds of books where audio is a better way of listening to it. This might be one of them. Some people.
I listen to all my books on Audible now. I think I have got out the habit of actually reading a book, which I would quite like to. I try occasionally, but mostly Audible is the way to go for me. I think for you can do like multitasking, like listen to your book and unload the dishwasher. I mean, what more could you want?
It's a good question.
So thank you again, Jamie. This has been amazing. I'm sure my listeners will get a lot out of this conversation, and I will see you soon, Jamie. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Juliet. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure.